If you or someone you know is struggling with alcoholism or addiction, do not hesitate to reach out for help. You can find numerous free resources on our website, thebeginagainpodcast.com, and there are tons of resources and support networks available online, in person, or just a phone call away. You don't have to face this challenge alone. Welcome to the Begin Again podcast. I'm your host, Gary Menkes. On the Begin Again podcast, we delve into the inspiring journeys of individuals who have overcome alcoholism and addiction and emerged as true trailblazers in entrepreneurship, business, sports, and beyond. Through authentic, uplifting, and profound conversations with our guests, we aim to shatter the stigma surrounding addiction and demonstrate that recovery can be a catalyst for remarkable success, strength, and resilience. We firmly believe that by listening to these accounts, you will be empowered to unlock your own potential, instigate positive change in your life, and contribute to the creation of a better world. So, get ready to be inspired and embark on your own personal journey of growth with the Begin Again podcast. Welcome back to the Begin Again podcast. I'm your host, Gary Menkes, and today it is my pleasure, and I've been looking forward to meeting with him and speaking with DJay McGrath and his powerful story and his powerful message. DJ is an accomplished ex-junior hockey player where drugs and alcohol turned his career for the worst, and he's also dealt with a plethora of mental health issues having to do with hockey injuries. He is a big believer that hockey has gone in the wrong direction on topics of mental health and addiction. He is a powerful voice, a voice that is speaking out, and a voice for the younger generation of men and women. As he says, his passion is to help these future athletes and students live their best life and to show them that it's okay to not be okay. DJ, I've been following you. We were just talking offline, man. I see you at all these clinics, and you're on the ice and you're helping these children, but then you do the real important part and you bring them in and you talk to them about real life stuff. How you doing today, bud?
Good, Gary. Hey, man, thanks for having me on. I know it's a long one overdue, but thanks for the intro too, man. It's kind of bang on right there. It's kind of a guy that had a story and had real life experiences that's just trying to give back to these athletes, because I know how it is. I know how it is behind closed doors. I know the struggle moving away from home at such a young age and that too, right? So I'm just trying to help out these young athletes, just knowing that it is okay to not be okay, and it's okay to have a problem, but it's the way of these kids who they could reach out to, right? And I didn't have that when I was a hockey player. So it's just doing my thing and giving back is all. So
you're doing it, you're living it. And I think it's fascinating and I want to touch upon it, but let's hear about kind of how you got here first. I think it's amazing that you are sharing your life experiences so out loud, you're recovering out loud, and you're a powerful voice, DJ, in a short amount of time for these young people. And, we talked off camera really quick just now, like there's nothing more important than the children, right? But you also touched upon, you were an accomplished hockey player. And that entails you leaving home at a really young age, correct?
Yeah, no, it all started. So I grew up in Kindersley, Saskatchewan. That's where I am right now. Small town of 4,500 people. And it's an oil, gas, farming community. It's a really competitive town. And I was just a kid, like every one of my buddies who played hockey, went to school and hit out the outdoor rinks. And I had those two older brothers that kind of led the path for me, Gary. And then I started getting a little older and starting to get a little more serious hockey. And I did have to make a decision to move away at a young age, at 15 years old. I had to move 2 hours out west to Saskatoon to play midget AAA hockey. And I knew I was hockey ready, Gary, but mentally I wasn't. But I was too scared to speak up. I was the leader in my schools. I was never the bully in schools. I was the hockey player. Everyone knew me as the hockey player, never as DJ McGrath. I was always DJ McGrath as the hockey player, and I couldn't handle it, man. And I was too scared to speak up. I was scared of getting judged. I didn't want to let my mom and dad down because of everything they'd done for me, traveling countless numbers of hours, taking time out of their work and supporting me with my hockey. And like I said, I was hockey ready. I was the top end kid. And I knew if I wanted to make my dream, which every kid's dream was the NHL, was I had to make that step. And believe it or not, Gary, that year, my first year, I was the only kid on that hockey team that had to get billeted. So I had to go live in a different home, completely different house. And every one of the teammates either lived in Saskatoon or their parents got them a place to live. So I remember, man, it was yesterday. I got a phone call from the general manager saying, DJ, you're living with a school teacher. And I knew right there, I'm like, shit, like I wasn't really good in school. And he ended up being the principal of that school. So it just all started out. I remember going out there, and the first week, I remember we had a rookie party. That's when I first started consuming alcohol. I knew right then, man, my depression was gone. My anxiety was gone. My feelings were frozen. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't homesick anymore. And right there, man, right when I had that first sip of alcohol on that rookie party, it was a downward slope for me.
Yeah, it happens fast and it grabs a hold of you. But you touched upon, I'm putting myself in your shoes for a second, 15 years old. Whether you did it to yourself or not, or a little bit of both, you put all this pressure on your shoulders. You don't want to let anybody down. You had people looking up to you in your head, which I know they did, right? But you don't want to let your parents down. And so you're 15 years old. Like, we're not ready for that yet. Like, we are not. But you got the bravado, right? Because, hey, man, I'm going to make this. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to get through it. And I can't let anybody down. And you put all this pressure on yourself. And I totally relate to, what you're saying. Then you get to the rookie party and you take a couple of swigs of booze and it all is numbed and it's all soothed and you don't feel it for a while, right? So what do? We run back to it as fast as we can, no matter where we put ourselves. Maybe we get sick, maybe we get in trouble. We still, our thought process is, when do I do this again? Because it's all we have. Plus, I didn't realize also, so you're alone and you're in this room with the principal. I mean, I was close with the principal, but I didn't live with the principal. Some people thought I did. I was in the principal's office so much so, but that's a lot on a 15-year-old shoulders, DJ. And you said you were a leader, and you can tell it right now.
Yeah, I know it is. And I got a little story for that. I like to say in my speaking engagements, Gary, and I remember it was his report card day, living with the principal, and he had a daughter and a son, and they're smart as hell, right? And I was so nervous. I remember it was hard for me to open up. They're just a different family, and I remember just hanging out in my room every night. And I remember his report card day, and I remember looking at my report card, and I was failing math, English, and science. And I remember I was like, damn, I got to tell my mom and dad. That was a big thing I got to tell. But my number one thing was, how am I going to get by this with the principal? Because I knew he was going to quiz me up on it. And me being 15 years old, I'm shaking. I'm living in this guy's house. And I'll never forget, it was after practice. And my 15-year-old mind was, okay, DJ, I'm gonna get in that house. I'm going to take off my shoes. I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to walk right to my room. And I have to pass the kitchen to get to my room. And I'll never forget, after practice, I get in the house around 6:00, obviously supper time, and open up that door and take off my shoes, put my head down. And I remember the whole family just looking at me, and the principal's like, Deej, can I see your report card? And thing that came out of my mouth was, I kind of want my mom and dad to see it first. I don't really feel comfortable telling you, because I knew in the back of my head I was going to get in trouble. And I'm 15 years old. I just didn't know what to do because I haven't experienced this before. And fair enough, 11:00 rolls around. I get a big pound on my door, and it's the principal. DJ, are failing math, DJ, are failing science. And he tore a strip off me, man. And that was the first time I broke down crying, lost. I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't get out because I didn't want to quit hockey. I had a dream I had to do. And I was lost. And I remember calling my parents the next day crying, and they were fortunate enough to get me out of that place. But that was the start of me moving away and experiencing. I remember after that rookie party, Gary, me being that outgoing kid, I remember I got suspended from school because they shaved my head into a smiley face in the back, just doing rookie things, right? And I remember showing up to it was a Catholic school, and I remember I was kind of being an idiot, and I got suspended. And yeah, just everything was slowly just falling apart for me at such a young age. And it was me being a small town and living in a big city, right? Me trying to impress everyone, me just not worrying about myself and taking care of everyone, right? So
right, you're worried about letting people down, keeping the outer looking like everything is fine. You say it all the time in so many of your posts, and your posts are so powerful. We're going to touch upon those in a little bit. So you're at this spot, you get moved, you're starting to find alcohol, right? And you're starting to find that numbness, you're starting to find that, you're talking about fear. Like I say it all the time, DJ, like I didn't think I was afraid of anything, but when I got sober, I realized I was afraid of like everything, and I could put fear on anything almost. And you're touching upon it too, but you're also dealing with pressure, real pressure that you're putting on yourself, that you're getting from principal banging on your door, the proverbial door. You're probably feeling pounded on your door nonstop. Where do you go from here? How does it start to really escalate for you?
Yeah, so after that season, I ended up going back home to finish off the school year or whatever, and I was still a top scorer of that hockey team. Like I always say, I was always that hockey player. I had the talent. I didn't even work out, and started smoking cigarettes, started drinking, started smoking weed. I remember coming back home, and now I'm the hometown hero. Now everyone thought I had a great year. No one knows I'm drinking every day. No one knows I'm depressed, anxiety. My parents, my loved ones didn't know what was going on, and no one knew because I was so good at painting a picture on my face. I was so good at being the most outgoing guys at school because I didn't want anyone to have a sniff of what was really going on. And I remember it was my draft year to the WHL, to the Western Hockey League, and I'll never forget, I was sitting in math class, and my parents were kind of green people, and me too. We didn't really know much about the Western Hockey League, junior hockey or whatever. We kind of let the outsiders kind of lead path for me, telling my parents what the best decision was for DJ. So we didn't really know too much. I'll never forget the 10-minute breaks in schools. Like I'd be the guy drinking in my 10-minute breaks in vehicles, smoking cigarettes, because I couldn't handle it. The pressures, the people coming up to me, oh, DJ, I want your autograph and all this. And I'm like, you guys don't know what's going on. You do not want to be like me, but I was too scared of opening it up and telling people because I didn't want my ego. My ego was there. I was the guy. I didn't want to drop my ego. I didn't want to be classified as someone else. I'll never forget, as my draft year and sitting in math class, and I get an announcement, DJay McGrath come down to the office. Usually I'd be in trouble, but I never forget going down there, and every single teacher in that school was giving me a standing ovation. And I'll never forget that. And they're like, congratulations, DJ, got drafted 3rd round, 66 overall to the Everett Silvertips. And I remember I was scared, man. I was lost. I'm already homesick. I remember getting home and my dad giving me a big hug, my mom giving me a hug, my 2 brothers. And first thing I did, we opened up a map. We didn't have what we have the technology nowadays, but we opened up the map, and from Kinnersley, Saskatchewan to Everett, Washington was a 22-hour drive. And I remember I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? I'm already only 2 hours away, homesick. I'm drinking every day and smoking weed and smoking cigarettes. How am I going to do this? And I remember it was a hard decision, but I didn't want to let anyone down. So I remember packing up that vehicle, driving 22 hours to Everett, Washington. And I was out of shape, Gary. I'm the first guy to say that. And I touch this on my speaking engagements too. I had an okay camp, and at the end of the camp, usually the general manager wants to talk to you and your dad. I'll never forget, I walk in there, and the general manager looks at me and said, I just want to talk to your dad. And don't forget, I was the first forward selected in that draft on that team, because they drafted a goalie 1st round, defenseman 2nd round, and then me as a forward. So I had pretty big expectations. I'll never forget, my dad didn't tell me this till 4 years later, thank God, that the general manager told me that to stop leaving bags of chips around the house or your son's never going to play for this organization. Who says that to a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid, right? I'm thankful to this day that my dad didn't tell me that, because I probably wouldn't have hung up the skates, and I don't know where I'd be today, to be honest. And I remember I went back home and I was downhill, man, drinking every day. And I finally my 2nd year back in Saskatoon, I finally shaped up a bit. I don't know what it was. I think it was, my dad was just kind of like telling me, Deej, you got to go in the gym. Like, your talent's only going to get you so far. And I remember I finally stayed in Saskatoon one summer, and I lost like 35 pounds and went back out to Everett, and I made that hockey team. And that was like the first sense of like, Deej, you finally accomplished something. I slowed down on my drinking even. I slowed down smoking weed, smoking cigarettes. I really wanted to prove to myself, prove to mom and dad that, and I'm okay, and I could do this. And man, when I got to Everett, coming from a top end kid, going down to the 5th line, they like to say, and not being able to open up, and me not playing, getting 5-6 shifts a game. It was straight rock bottom, man. It was, my mental health was gone. And back in the day, you weren't allowed to talk to the coaches. You weren't allowed to show any weakness. Yeah, you may have best friends on that hockey team, but at the end of the day, you're fighting for that spot in the lineup. There's no chance in hell back in the day I would have opened up and tell them I'm depressed or I got anxiety, because I'd be traded. You know what I mean? It's one of those thought processes. And funny story, well, it's not really funny. My best friend in Everett, I didn't talk to him for about 10 years, and he reached out to me and congratulated me on what I was doing. And what the sad part about this is he said that he was dealing with the exact same thing that I was dealing in Everett, and not one of us spoke up about it.
And your best friend, you guys are going through the same thing, but you're professionals at keeping it up, right? And keeping up the appearance and not telling anybody, because, you know, that's how we're built. You're not supposed to tell anybody. You can't tell a coach where you are that, you know, you have an anxiety, right? Like, in our minds, that's a sign of weakness, but little do we know that's actually a sign of courage. But we learned that a little later. So how old are you at this point?
I was 18 years old.
18.
When I was down in Everett. Well, 17, 18 years old. I played 2 years there, and I remember I quit, or we kind of had a mutual agreement. I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to be at home. My mental health, I was depressed. I remember I wasn't even going to team functions, faking sickness. I was faking injuries just to be alone. I was comfortable in a dark room by myself, and I don't know what was going on with me at that time.
Sure. So you go back home, right? So you move home after this?
Yeah, I moved home, and I go back home, and I got to play for my hometown Kindersley Clippers, which is a junior A program. And I was the stick boy growing up for the Kindersley Clippers. My parents billeted. My dream when I was a kid to play for the Kindersley Clippers, and I got to do that. I came home, but now I'm thinking in the back of my head, I can't get a scholarship anymore, right? Because I played for 2.5 years in the WHL. Now I'm back at home, and that's when partying, man. I drank and drank and drank, and that was when I had my bad knee injury. I remember I had like 32 points in 11 games as an 18-year-old, like doing pretty good as in junior A. And I remember it was against Estevan Bruins, and I got hit, and I ended up rupturing my ACL, MCL, and my kneecap at the same time. And man, that's when my drinking just went from 0 to 100. I remember I couldn't even go to watch my hockey team without being drunk, because I thought I let everyone down. I thought I let my teammates down. I thought I let the loyal fans in Kindersley down. That's the thought process was going through my head, man. That's how rock bottom I was, never looking after myself. And after that knee injury, I had to miss that whole year of hockey, and it went rock bottom. And then that was my 19-year-old year. And then my 20-year-old year, I got to be my hometown captain. That was a pretty big accomplishment for me, being a hometown captain. But man, it was the worst year of my life.
So how's it the worst year of your life?
Yeah, because I was, I had the captain on, and that adds how much more pressure to me. We weren't a winning program that year. We weren't a winning hockey team. And I thought everything was my fault. I thought everything was my fault, and my performance wasn't good. I didn't really do my knee rehab as good as I should, and it was affecting my game. I got severe arthritis, and I'm 31 right now. Like, I'm supposed to get knee surgery again. Like, that's how bad it was, and I didn't take care of myself. That's why I say, like, nowadays, like, these athletes, if there's absolutely anything going on, any bruises, anything, get it looked after and take care of yourself, because I'm only 31, man, and I'm struggling every single day with my knee. And yeah, man. So after my 20-year-old year, I wanted to hang him up until I got a phone call from Red Deer College, and I had 5 free years of school because of the WHL. And I went out there, and that was when I got introduced to cocaine. And yeah, I could obviously, I'll touch. Well, you got any questions? Yeah.
No, I loved it. I mean, so all right, so you go out there, and I was just on another show. I was talking about cocaine, and I know alcohol was my number one thing. That's my first and foremost, and I believe cocaine sped up the whole process for me, because I hated cocaine as a kid. Like, I would see my dad doing stuff, cocaine, when I was a younger kid. So I hated it. But then I was introduced to it, 18, 19, 20 years old, whatever. And it allowed me to drink more. It allowed me to drink longer. And I was just saying this on another show that I was the type of guy that like I didn't have the guy's number because like I said, I hated that stuff. But once I had one drink in me, I was like, call him and get him over here, get it over here now. And even like friends of mine that they're no angels, good guys, but they're no angels. But they were doing it a little differently than me. Like they were hiding the stuff from me because I was like, let's put it out and let's do it all, and then let's call him back and like let's do it again. And but I sincerely think it sped up my disease. I was in rehab. I was 26 years old. Last time I had a drink, I was 31 years old. Thought my life was over, and little did I know, my life was just starting. Because right, 17 plus years ago, dating myself. I just turned 49. But so tell me about your journey with cocaine.
Yeah, so it was after my first year in Red Deer. I was so rock bottom. I ended up staying in Red Deer that summer because I couldn't show my face in my hometown anymore. My parents still thought I was okay. They knew something was up. They didn't think to this extent. But I didn't want to give them an inch of finding out. So I ended up staying in Red Deer, and I'll never forget, man. I was drinking all the time. And then I remember my buddy came over and pulled out a bag of cocaine and threw it on the table. And I remember doing my first line of cocaine and went on a 10-year everyday addiction on that. After that, my very first line, my feelings were gone. I honestly, between you and I that time I was like, what's cocaine? I'm already doing this to myself. And I felt amazing. Like all my problems were gone. I felt invincible. I felt like I could do anything. And like you touched on there, I could drink 35 beers and be okay and keep doing coke all night. And yeah, man, it was an everyday process for me. I remember after my second year at Red Deer, I quit and I said, I can't do it anymore. I'm done. Like I was ready to explode. Like I couldn't do it anymore. Like my hockey, I hated hockey. I wanted to be done. I could care less going to play hockey. And with college, you only practice on weekdays and you only play on weekends, right? So it was a nightmare during the week, and that was my party time during the week. And then after games, it was a green light for me too. And I remember coming back home again, packing up my car. I bawled the whole way home, man, cried the whole way home from Red Deer to Kindersley. It was a 4-hour drive, and I bawled the whole way home. And because my career's done, my hockey career's done, I knew it was all over. I pissed it all away. I had 5 free years of schooling, man. And I pissed it all away. And I remember coming back, not knowing what I wanted to do. I'm a hockey player. I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. I'm depressed. Anxiety's through the roof, and I'm not telling anyone, and I'm too scared too. So I remember coming back home, and I'm getting I sold vehicles in Kindersley, believe it or not, while I was on this, still dealing with the public, and everyone knew me, right? And I remember my parents bought me a condo and ended up getting a dog, and he's just right beside me, and he's my best friend, he's my everything. But I remember getting him, and it was an everyday occurrence, man. I remember picking up drugs before work, going to work, and every time 5:30 hit, man, I remember coming home, locking my door, shutting the curtains, crying myself to sleep every single night. I couldn't stop. And it was 10 years in a row. I left the hockey rink for 3 years. I didn't even show my face in the community. Like I was hiding from everyone for 10 years straight.
10 years straight, so you could just, you're through your whole story, right? You're putting so much pressure on yourself. Every step of the way of your story, you're putting this pressure on. Then you become the captain of your childhood team, and team's not doing great. And who takes the brunt of it? But you do. Where do you turn though, bud? When do you turn to where you are leading up to today and start recovering out loud? How do you find the moment that, hey man, there's got to be people like how I was, I didn't speak up, they need help. How do you transition from where you are to where you are today, which is dedicated to helping people, which is beautiful?
Yeah, and thank you for asking me this, because this is the night that saved my life, man. It was June 6th of 2022. Again, doing the same thing at night, and I had a rope in my room for the first time of my life. Suicide, man. Yeah, I still tear up when I talk about it, because it's just like I had it all. Like my dad's my role model, my mom's my best friend, my brothers are my best friend. I didn't have any trauma. I didn't have anything. And now I got a rope in my room ready to end it all, because I don't know how to get out. I don't know how to speak up. I'm scared. And remember just laying in my bed, and I finally had a sense of hope. I still can't explain this feeling, but it was like a devil on one side and the angel on the other, and the devil telling me, Deej, you're fine. This is another night for you. But there was an angel on one side telling me, like, Deej, you could finally tell someone. I still can't know this feeling, but it was a feeling. And I remember I went to my mom and dad's house as a 5-minute drive, and it took me, shit you not, 35 minutes, man, going over different scenarios in my head. I turned around once, and I thank God I turned back around, and I finally got to my mom and dad's house, man. And I'll never forget, I opened up that front door, and my mom was across the kitchen, and I started bawling. And it was like everything just coming out, like all my releases, all my pressures, all my everything holding inside for such a long time is finally coming out. And I remember I heard my dad's footsteps coming up the stairs from the basement and started crying even more. And the only thing that came out of my mouth was, Dad, I am dancing with the devil. The best thing my mom and dad did for me that night, man, was let me talk. They didn't know interruptions. They let me, I laid everything out on that table, right from 15 years old, right till up in that now. And the 3 words that saved my life, man, was my mom, right after I was done, my mom gave me a big hug and said she was proud of me. And, after all the things, like, I wish I told them younger when it was going on, because when I told that and my mom giving me that hug and saying that she was proud of me, saved my life, man, because I didn't have another night left in me. And I remember my mom and dad asked me what I want to do. And I was scared of rehab and counseling. And I said, I need to prove to myself, I know I could do this. And I remember I packed me and my dog up, went to the lake for 3 weeks, and I just, worst 3 weeks of my life, but it was the best. And remember coming back home, man, and it was tough. Now I got to tell everyone what's going on. And I remember I did it. And I created an Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I was month 3 into this. And I knew there were people struggling. I knew there were people that I wasn't alone, and I was still struggling because I'm trying to live a new life, waking up every day. I still deal with anxiety. I still deal with depression every day. But I remember in month 3, I created this, and I said, you know what? I am going to share my story. I am going to talk. And when I did that, man, I got flown out to Toronto. I've been sharing my story. I got to quit my job. I've been sharing my story all around Canada. I've been doing, like you said, just sharing my experiences on social media, and how many parents are reaching out to me, how many kids I'm dealing with every day that struggle. But the best thing is that these kids could relate to me. And I'm not shy anymore. I don't regret what happened. I'm vulnerable, man. That's why I'm so big on vulnerability, because that is what saved DJ McGrath's life, was being vulnerable and chucking my ego aside, chucking that I'm a hockey player aside. I don't give a shit about that anymore. I'm a human, and I'm not better than anyone else. And I'm here to help, and I'm here to give back. So, and a funny story, how you said it, when I was in grade 6, just to leave this off, when I was in grade 6, the teacher, we had to write down 3 things that we wanted to do when we grow up. And myself, NHL, NHL, NHL. And my teacher was like, DJ, you have to do this. And one of them was a motivational speaker, believe it or not. And now fast forward, that's kind of what I'm doing now, man. So yeah, it's quite the journey.
You said you're a beautiful human. You really are, man. What a beautiful story. We touched upon this before we came on. I watch you on social media, and we talked about it. You're on the ice. You're helping them on the ice, but you are helping you with these children, these younger, and they're younger, right? You were at a clinic or something all the time with these young girls and boys too, right? There's a lot of girls out there playing hockey these days, which is beautiful. So I don't want to ask you to like measure it, but you must be overcome with, all right, it looks like maybe my higher power, God, whoever you want to call him, is giving me that 3rd slot that the 6th grade teacher told you, motivational speaker. I mean, what's more important than helping children now, helping parents, man?
And it's everything. It really is. And just giving back to my community, man. It's a small community, right? And I ran my first ever 3-on-3 tournament. I had 93 kids, and I didn't think one was going to show up, and it was all mental health. And just, that's why I encourage, like, speak up and tell someone, talk about your problems, talk about what's going on, because people are out there that want to help you. And honestly, man, like, I have so many eyes on me right now, like looking out for me. Like, I every time I walk down the street with my dog, like, Deej, how you doing? Like, how are you doing today? You know, and it just makes me feel so damn good, man, that I was, for the longest time, I was so scared what people are going to think of me. You know, I was a role model for these kids, and I was a drug addict, alcoholic, but just goes to show of opening up and talking about your feelings, because there's so many people that are dealing with something. And if you haven't, your time is coming, man. Like, there's so much, this world, man. You're going to get into obstacles, you're going to get into problems, and instead of doing it on your own, ask for help, because it's the best thing in the world. And how people can lighten each other up, like this conversation right here, this makes my whole day, man. This I know I'm going to have a good day just by talking to you about mental health, and this is how important it is. So it's awesome, man.
Well, you and me both, Deej. I mean, really, this is, I am enjoying this immensely, and I knew I was, but it's way better than I had thought. I ask people, I don't really have like interview questions, right? But one of the things I do ask is, like, towards the end, I ask, can you go back to 15-year-old Deej, and what would you tell him? And, that's a good thing, but I'm overcome with, Deej, you do that every single day. You talk to 15-year-old or 12-year-old or 10-year-old Deej every single day. It's what you do. It seems like it's becoming your life's purpose.
It is, man. I just know the struggle out there, and I know it's tough out there, and just the social media and everything. And if I could, if I talk to a room of 100 people, and that one person, if I could help out that one person, man, it enlightens my world, and I'm doing something for this world, because there has to be more of it. There's not enough mental health. There's not enough speaking. There's not enough kids that could relate to. Because I remember when I was 15, 14 years old, I remember mental health speakers would come in and talk about us, and it'd be slideshow after slideshow, nothing, no life experience, nothing that I could relate to. And when you get a guy that's real and raw, that is willing to help and share their experiences, man, it could go a long ways. Because like I said, being vulnerable, if a guy's sitting, if a guy's quiet sitting at home, and you see a video of a guy opening up, expressing their feelings, that could help out that guy that's sitting at home silent and saying, I'm not alone. So it's huge, man.
Amen. And the purpose of this show, at its very core, is to help one person today. And I say that I want this to grow. I want this show to grow, because maybe we can help more than one person. I know this episode, you, is going to help a lot of people, everyone that hears it. And where can we find you, DJ? Where can we follow you?
Yeah, of course. So I'm on Instagram. I'm all over flooding everyone's feeds as of late, it seems like. But it's DJay McGrath. So DJay McGrath, McGrath hockey. On Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, starting to get a little bit of YouTube going. But yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, it's I love doing it. I love being on behind camera. I never thought I would, but I mean, it's holding me accountable at the end of the day, like we talked about at the start. It's keeping myself sober and keeping me going every single day, because just as much as everyone, man, being sober is one thing, but staying sober is a whole new game, man. So
Amen to that. Amen. We're going to put all your socials obviously across when this episode drops, but I got to tell you, man, it's not, this is new to me as far as the people I get to meet on the podcast, but it's not every day that I meet a man as powerful as you and helping children. Like, children's my real soft spot. And, just your purpose pours out of you. It pours out of you on your posts and everything. You're so authentic and you're so real, and you're helping so many people, man. And it's an honor to be speaking to you right now. And I say this a lot too. I don't want to be repetitive, but I'm big in, like, not one and done and keeping relationships. So I'm not only going to follow you. You and I are going to stay in touch, and it's a pleasure to watch you. It's a pleasure to see all the people that you continue to help. But, like, you're just getting started too. You're like in the top of the first inning here for sure, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just not even a year into it, and I mean, I got so much more to offer, and it's just hard because I'm still working on it. It's still tough to give myself a tap on the back, man. It seems like I don't do anything some days and I'm down in the dumps. But like I said, if I could help out that one person and like you, man, whole respect for you. I know the feeling. I know how hard it is to do this and talking about mental health, because it's a tough subject, because it's not like an everyday topic, right? So, hey, man, we're getting our words out there. And if we could get an army, that's what I always say. If we could get an army and help these people that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have a problem. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be mad, but it's not okay to stay like that. You got to speak up. And it's hard. So it's all it could take is that one conversation, man. And it means the world to me for you gaining trust in me and being able to come on your podcast. I know you're going to kill it, man, in this game, just by your presence right there. You make me feel at home and make me want to share my story. So from me to you, man, thank you so much.
No, thank you. And it's for me, like, I'm a big keep it simple, stupid, KISS. Like, that's for me. But just the one little thing that you just said, speak up, like, and you yell it, right? You yell it through your posts and you mean it. I say yell it proverbially, like, speak up. It's such an important message, man. And you live it. And again, not to keep repeating myself, you live that. So, man, I'm proud that you're on this show. I appreciate your comments just now, and it's an honor to be on the same team. I said it before on another show, like, there can't be enough of us, right? And you're saying, let's build the army. Like, to think that I'm part of the army, which, you know what, I am. Yes, amen to that. That's a good day.
Yeah, man, for sure. Like I said, whatever you need, man, whatever you need. Now we built a relationship. Whatever you need, you know how to get a hold of me, man.
And right back at you, DJ. Right back at you. We're going to put all your socials. We're going to get people following you more, and it's going to be so fun to watch your growth from here, man. I can't thank you enough for taking out the time and come and join in the Begin Again podcast.
Of course, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to another powerful episode of the Begin Again podcast. We sincerely appreciate your time and support. We hope that today's conversation has ignited a spark within you, affirming that recovery is not only attainable, but can also be a wellspring of strength and resilience. Our ultimate goal is to make a difference in someone's life every single day. By sharing these stories of redemption, we strive to empower you and inspire you to unlock your fullest potential, facilitate positive transformations, and contribute to creating a better future for yourself, for your loved ones, and the world at large. If you know someone who could benefit from listening to our show, please share it with them. And if you resonate with our mission and feel compelled to do so, we would greatly appreciate your support through a 5-star review, following us on Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel, The Begin Again Podcast. The more positive reviews we receive and the wider our message spreads, the greater our collective ability to help others realize that change is possible in their own lives. Thank you once again for being a part of our community. May you be blessed on your own journey of personal growth and transformation.